I do have a bachelor's degree in biological sciences, not a degree in teaching. I was a teacher in Jamaica and I was teaching for about 5 years. Coming here to Canada, the system is very similar to what we have in Jamaica. So you have to be certified, and here you're certified by your province. I am currently in British Columbia, so of course I had to apply to British Columbia. Everything that we do comes with a fee. And before I say anything else, I'm going to always encourage you to actually, if you're planning to come here to teach, start the process from back home. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. From the title, you guys are able to see that I'm no longer in Jamaica and I'm actually in Canada, and I've been here for about a year now. And I'm going to be talking today about how my experience back home would have helped me to get a job here and what I used to do. So if you would have watched my previous videos, even though it's been a while, I was a teacher in Jamaica. And I'm in Canada, I'm a teacher here. Occasionally, you're going to see me just looking across to my computer screen because I wrote down all the things I want to talk about, just not to miss anything. So if you see me looking across, that's the reason why. And so before we jump into it, please remember guys to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps a lot. I'm really trying to grow. So this year, we're going to be very serious. Now with that said, let's just get into why you're here. So as I said earlier, I was a teacher in Jamaica and I was teaching for about 5 years, both in the high school system and also with Heart Trust. I used to do that like some evenings. So that's where my experience comes from. I do have a bachelor's degree in biological sciences, not a degree in teaching, and that's very important as we're going to move into the video. So in Jamaica, we're classified as pre-trained teachers, right? So we're still able to teach. Of course, the salary is a little bit less than a certified teacher, but you're still able to teach. Now, coming here to Canada, the system is very similar to what we have in Jamaica. So you have to be certified, and here you're certified by your province. So I am currently in British Columbia. So of course I had to apply to British Columbia, right? So that is the province that I'm in. Everything that we do comes with a fee. And before I say anything else, I'm going to always encourage you to actually, if you're planning to come here to teach, start the process from back home, because all the documents that you're going to need to gather is going to take time. And so you need to have time to get those on hand, right? Also, with that said, when you come here and you're looking at, so you're trying to come here, you're looking at province, and you're looking to see what you need to have, the process will take a while. So for me, it took a little bit over a year to actually get the certificate. However, you're still able to work, and I'm going to get into that as we move further on into the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is once you come here, where to look for a job. So most people are going to tell you to look to Indeed, and Indeed is helpful in terms of finding a job, but not to apply for a job. So I would encourage you to apply for teaching jobs on Indeed, look at the jobs that are posted, and then go to those school websites to actually find a job. So let us say you find a book academy for a school, right? And you want to apply, go to their website and apply from there. And also, if you're going, at least for the private system, if you're moving into the public system, you're going to have to go to the, depending on where you live again, they have their own system. So let's say you're living in Burnaby, they'll have their own school system. So you're going to have to go to that website to apply to the district, and then they will assess your application. But if you're going the private route, I'm also working in a private school, you go directly to their website, you get an interview. If you're selected, then you just move forward in your teaching career. Okay, so that's out of the way. Second thing I want to talk to you about is the application fee. So I mentioned earlier that I encourage you to apply from your back home because it takes a little bit over a year. The standard application fee is 245 Canadian dollars, and I did check from last year to now, and it's still the same. So that is the flat fee that you're gonna pay just to apply for the application, for them to assess everything that you're uploading. So $245. And as a teacher here, it renews every year. So every year you have to pay for your teaching license, and you can pay for it through your school. Through their accounting department, they'll ask you if you want to pay for it, and that is $75. So you pay that every single year just to keep up your certification from the province. Coming from an foreign country, so I'm from Jamaica, coming here, we obtain what is called an independent certificate because we're not trained teachers here in Canada. Thing about this is that you're gonna be restricted to a subject. So you're not just going to come here and you're going to tell them that, oh, in my country I taught geography or history or sciences. You have to have something to prove that is what you taught. And so when you apply for your subject restricted certificate, you're going to upload every single thing that they're going to ask you for. And they're the ones that are actually going to determine what you're going to be certified to teach. So for myself, I taught sciences back in Jamaica, primarily biology, chemistry, and general sciences. I did not teach, just say, physics on its own. So when I applied and I showed all of my experience and my references from what I would have taught, then I am now certified here to teach biology, chemistry, and general sciences. And general sciences, yes, will encapsulate some physics, but it's like at a lower level. So based on what you upload is what, if you are granted certification, what they're going to certify you to teach. So that's the first thing. You apply to the Teacher Regulation Board, and from this account, you're going to be able to upload all your documents. You're going to be able to see all of your updates. If they have to talk to you for additional documents, you do have a section for additional documents. That's if they're required outside of what the general checklist is. For me, I didn't require any additional documents. So hopefully if you're the same and you're also applying, then you won't require any additional documents. But just something for you to note. And that part is also very important because as you move on down and you would have uploaded everything, you're going to get to your evaluation section, and that is how you're going to be able to teach here in Canada without the certificate. Once you would have gotten to your evaluation, then you can actually screenshot that. So when you move into schools, because you're coming from a foreign country, they're going to ask you for your certification. This happens every single time. And they will actually accept your evaluation. This proves that you would have actually applied for the certificate, so you're interested in doing it. You would have applied, paid the fees, and now you're waiting. They will allow you to work until you get a feedback. Hopefully your feedback is good. That was my situation. I actually came here a little later into the school hiring season, I would say. I came here in the middle of July, which is already in the summertime. Most schools will post their job openings from January, or it depends. Let us say persons are going on maternity leave. These things are posted all year round. And so for me, I actually started working at my current job in that October as a maternity cover, and then I rolled over into a full-time position. So it is possible, and I would have used just my screenshot showing my evaluation, and I actually have applied for the certificate from my province. So that is that so far. Next, your document checklist. This is what we want to discuss. So every single thing that you need, which is why I would have said earlier, I think it's best if you start from your home country before coming here, because a lot of things you're going to have to upload. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a criminal records check. This is just a form they're going to give to you for you to sign and upload, just to say that you're giving them permission to actually run a criminal background check on you. And when you come here, almost every school that you go into, they're going to ask you for a criminal background check. Everything that you do here, they're going to ask you for that check. So it's best for you to actually just sign the form and to just move forward in the process. The next thing we have are your identification. So on the system, they're going to show you primary and secondary identification forms. So they're going to give you a list of what they are. For me, I use my primary, my passport, as my primary form. And then for my secondary, I use my driver's license from back home. So those are two things that I would have uploaded for identification. This is so that they can verify your identity. And you'll realize that when you come here, everything is on the computer. They can run your driver's license. They can see if it's accurate. They can see if it's real, all of those things. So that's the reason why they want to actually verify who you are through your documentation. Next will be your credentials. So this one is very, very important. So as I mentioned earlier, I am not a teacher per se in my home country because I didn't go to a teacher's college. I went to a regular university for my bachelor's degree, which is 4 years. So when you're applying, that's going to be a requisition for them that you would have completed a bachelor's degree up to 4 years in your field. So I would have done that, but not gone to teacher's college. And so because of that, they would say in my country, I'm classified as a pre-trained teacher. So when you're uploading your credentials, you're going to upload your normal degree. If you have a teaching certificate or a teaching diploma, that's also great. You also upload that to their system. This is how they can verify that you are who you are. This is just the first step. Because if you come here and then you want to further your studies, let us say that you have a bachelor's, regular 4 years, but you want to do a master's. In this country, they pay you based on your qualification, which is great. I'll say I love that about this country. And so you're going to go through a certification body. And so they're going to be able to assess whichever degrees you have to put you on a teaching scale. So for independent teacher, for me coming from abroad, we're like on level 4. Normal teachers here who go to teachers colleges, you start at level 5. So for us coming internationally, you're able to upgrade if you go back to school, basically, right? So that's for your credentials. If you're coming here as a trades teacher, let us say that you're like in carpentry or mechanics or whatever trade that you do and you want to teach it here, you're going to have to upload your trade certificate, notarized, be careful with that, notarized, everything has to be notarized, and then they'll be able to assess that, you know, you're who you say you are. Back in Jamaica, we have JPs. JPs are actually able to notarize too. It's two different things. Normally, when you go to Justice of the Peace as a JP, it is free. For notarize, you actually have to pay. In Jamaica, I think when I went to my JP to notarize, I think it cost me like 2,500 to get a notary. So it's very different from just a regular JP stamp. So ensure that if you're doing that, you have the two of them differentiated. So that is for your credentials. You're just uploading everything that you would have studied, basically. The next thing that they're going to ask you for is your post-secondary transcript. So you went to university, they need to see your transcripts. If you went to teachers colleges, they're going to ask you for your practicum. Again, for me, I didn't do that, so I just had to request my transcript, and this is something that will be sent directly from your school to them. So it won't be given to you for you to upload. You have to pay for your institution to send it directly to the TRB for them to actually assess it themselves. So it can't be tampered with any at all, right? The fifth thing that they ask for is language proficiency. I'm coming from an English speaking country, so I didn't have to worry about this in terms of uploading something to say that I speak English, or the second language here is French. So I didn't have to worry about this, but maybe where you're coming from, they might ask you to do this. So just ensure that if it's asked of you, that you go and you do the necessary English exams that they ask for. Normally, you have like CELPIP, IELTS, or those kind of English exams that are actually accepted. So if it is something that you have to do, then you can look into doing IELTS or the CELPIP, whichever one that's available to you in your country. So that's for your English proficiency. The next thing is your statement of professional standing. Your statement of professional standing is actually given to you by your teaching board. So again, coming from my country, we have Jamaica's Teachers Association. So it will become from, that is my regulatory board, right? Again, I am not a classified teacher in Jamaica. So when I contacted them about this, because I'm a pre-trained teacher, they would have just given me a letter to say that she's a pre-trained teacher, have been teaching for such and such years, and I would have uploaded that to them. I also wrote a separate document explaining what pre-trained teaching is in my country to the regulatory board as well. If there's anything that you're unsure of or you're not clear, I would advise you to write a letter of explanation in everything that you do. In this country, they're really, really big on you explaining yourself and you being very clear and being very honest. So I would advise you to do that. But if you are a professional teacher, you can just request this document from your professional board, whichever it is. Ensure it is stamped and you upload it in your documents. You're gonna have every single aspect where to upload from in your account once you would have started the application process, right? Okay, so the next step is your secondary school graduation diploma. So you went to high school, you all got a diploma, you just upload a picture of that is acceptable. So that's for that one. For point 8 is your verification of employment. Now, sometimes when you leave a working institution, sometimes people leave on a bad note, sometimes people leave on a good note. It's very important that wherever you're working, you leave on a good note. I know sometimes we're like, oh, we've already crossed that bridge, you don't care. Trust me, if you're gonna plan to move outside of the country, you must care. I'll never forget one of my heads of department. We had a little bit of like conflicts in our department, and she said to me that it is important that even if you don't like someone, you learn to respect the chair that they sit in. And I never forgot that, because that is something that has helped me in terms of relationships with persons as you're moving. No, the reason why I'm saying that is because your verification of employment actually comes from whichever many schools you would have taught at. So on their system, they actually have on the system, they want to see your employment records for the last 20 years if you have so many. For me, I was only teaching for about 4 to 5 years. So I've been to 2 schools before that. And so I would have those are the persons I would have had to reach out to. So it's important that you keep good relationships, because for the verification of employment is actually forms that they're going to give to you to download to just send to those schools. And those schools are going to complete the form and send it back directly to them. You won't see anything that was written on the forms, which is why I'm saying it's important to maintain good relationships. So they're going to ask you things on that form just to verify if you're a full-time teacher, part-time teacher, or a guest teacher. In my country, we don't have guest teaching, right? So full-time teacher means that you have a full course load. Sometimes we have part-time, so like you're working half the day, etc. But guest teaching over here, it's like, let us say you have a sick day and you can't go to work that day. Instead of asking other teachers to cover all of your classes, they bring in a substitute teacher. So it's like a substitute teacher, and then they pay them for the day. Again, in Jamaica, we don't have that, but they're going to ask if that's your position, because it is something that we have here. And that's also going to affect your certification, because they want to see that you are a full-time teacher in your profession, right? That's what you are, a teacher. So that is one thing. They're going to ask if you had any conflicts in the workplace. They're also going to ask if you've ever been fired, ever been suspended, what kind of person they see you are as a teacher. So it's important, again, for you to maintain those good relationships. So don't burn the bridges once you would have left your schools, okay? And again, those must also be signed by the principal of that institution and given the school stamp. So ensure that when you're telling them, you say, okay, everything needs to be done in order, signed by the principal, stamped by the school, and sent back to them. And of course, you're going to give the email for the regulatory board to your schools to send back the information to. So again, please be honest with everything. They can check everything. Even when I started to work here, they sent verification stuff to my character references just to ask about who I am in Jamaica. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Always try to be honest with your applications, okay? So that's for your verification of employment. The next thing is you have assessment forms. This is upon request. I wasn't asked for that, but if you are, then that is something that you'll have to upload. That normally has to do with like your practicum stuff. So they're gonna ask you to just upload all of your assessments that would have been done on you. So that's if you're asked. Next is your character references. Now on the form, they asked for 2 character references for you. I used one of my past HODs, which is head of department, and I also used my pastor. It's going to ask you not to use anyone who is related to you. So you must not use your spouse, any cousins, distant relatives, no relatives, okay? Even if it's a cousin, no relatives. Be careful with that. And then on the form, they're also gonna tell you that you must know these people for at least 2 years. So you must know them in some capacity for the past 2 years. So then when you get those character references, then you upload them onto your form. Okay, next is your teaching report. So I'm not sure how it is done in other countries, but in Jamaica, every single school year, at the end of the school year, we all go through a teaching assessment. So this is where you are looked at for your whole year. So they look at all of your unit plans, all of your lesson plans, your engagement for the year, activities that you would have done with your students, club engagement in the school, all of those things. So every year we are assessed and we're given a certain percentage whether you pass or whether you fail. So they're going to ask you for that teaching report. Again, you can get that from whichever school that you're coming from. And if you're coming from Jamaica, then you should have one from just your previous year or that current year. So if you're applying now and you haven't gotten it as yet, you can use the one from the year before. So they're going to ask you for that. And normally, as I said, it's done every year, so it should be a fresh one. So it shouldn't be something from like 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It's the most recent teaching assessment of you as a teacher. So that is for that. Okay, so after you would have uploaded all of those documents, you are well on your way. So what's going to happen is that once you go through that process and you've uploaded everything, it's going to take you about a week or so. You're going to hear back from someone who is assigned to your case. That person is going to say to you, I will receive all your documentation and you're now moving on to the evaluation stage. When you look on the system, nothing actually is dated until the evaluation stage. That is where everything starts from. So as I mentioned in the previously, when you come here and you're applying for a job, they're going to ask you for the evaluation. It means that if you have not uploaded all your documents and you're given a case officer, then you won't get to the evaluation stage and no one will hire you. So you need to get to that stage where everything is uploaded, is verified by officer, and they're saying, okay, give us some time. You are able to track it and look at what time normally for applications. So for us coming from outside independent certificates, you're going to see like a long wait time, and it's accurate because I waited over a year before I heard back from them. So you just want to get to that evaluation stage where you're able to screenshot that and present it to the schools that you're applying to. Some of them, in most cases over here, I've seen where they do accept it, so you shouldn't have any problems with that. So that's for that. The next thing now is after the year would have passed and now you're hearing back from them. When I saw the email, I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, I hope it's what I want. So when I opened document, it said that, yes, you have been approved for your teaching certificate from the province of British Columbia, etc. And so now you can now teach here. Before you're actually given that certificate that you need to present everywhere that you're going to apply to, you must pay your initial certification fee, which is then 135 Canadian dollars. That's your initial fee. After that is when you're going to pay the $75 every year to keep up with your license. For me, when I paid the initial fee at my school, they were also collecting for the license, and I was like, just to make sure, I'll still pay the $75 again. So on the system, it would have recorded that I would have paid twice, and so they refunded me the $75 because I just paid the $135. So but moving forward every year after that, the school is going to ask you to pay for your teaching certificate, which they'll just send to the province, and it's just so much easier for you than for you to go into the system and pay for yourselves like every year. Again, as I said in the beginning, if you want to look at this, I would encourage you to start from your back home before you get here because it does take a little bit of time. And so that is everything that I would have done to actually get to the start of just doing the application and getting certified here. So I'm now classified as a certified teacher here in British Columbia, and I am teaching in the senior school in sciences because this is what I would have done back home, and so it's the same thing would have translated here for me. Things might be different for many of you, and if this is the case, I would invite you to write a comment, any questions you have, any concerns, anything that you're not clear on, you're planning to come here but you're not sure. I'm sure persons will have a lot of questions, especially now when you look online and you see everything. If there's anything that you like to know, please just write a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. And I'm also, as I said in the beginning, asking you guys to like, share and subscribe. It does a lot for my channel as we try to grow together here. And so if you're planning to come to Canada, I would encourage you to come see for yourself. Don't be deterred. Everything will work out just in time. Nothing before it's time. Always believing that, and it is so true. And so until the next video, thank you guys for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.